let's start. We're starting again at with the very basics. I guess I just assumed that you all knew me, but some of you might be new. If you haven't been joining me all week for webinars, hey, I am Caitlin. I am a former 2nd and 4th grade teacher. I taught in San Luis Obispo, California, and I have been working on the ClassDojo team remotely for the past 4 or 5 years. I really do miss teaching, and I was a big ClassDojo user when I was teaching, but it's pretty fun to get to work for a company that you really feel strongly about and enjoy, and I know that, you know, they're doing so much to make education amazing and help empower you to support your students and school community. So let's get started. I am going to focus more on my screen rather than the slides. I want you to use the slides as your your guide. So you can refer back to it after this webinar. So I might not just, it's really probably not very helpful for you to see them that small. So I won't really focus on them. So let's start with the basics. When you go to ClassDojo.com on the web or on the app, you're going to click sign up and you're going to choose your role. If you already have a parent account, you need a separate email to create your teacher account. The very first thing you're going to do is find your school. By joining your school, you can access the students in your school. You can view the school story, which I will show you in a bit. But it is really important to join your school. So I am going to look for Mojo's Academy of Awesomeness, which is that is my school. If you don't see your school on the list or you don't teach at a school, you can click I don't teach at a school. But if you have already created your account and you want to connect to your school, you can also click search for your school and connect at any time. So let me do that real quick. Okay. Actually, and if I click on one and I'm like, this isn't the right school, I can always go back and click on the other one. Let's do join this school. Okay, so I have now requested to join the school. By adding myself to that school, you will see now here on the right where it says Mojo Academy of Awesomeness, this school has a lock symbol. That is because my account has not yet been verified for my school. So you can see that up along the top, there's a little blue bar that says, you know, you still need to verify your email. So that's the first thing I would recommend you do once you get signed up. You want to get that little blue bar off the top by verifying your email address. So you're going to hop over to your email and verify your email account. That way that blue bar goes away. And then hopefully your school's mentor will approve you for your school. Let's change this real fast. I think I want to change this to let's change it to, yeah, I want to join this school. There we go. Okay. Let's skip verification for now. Great. Okay, so now I requested to join my school. I can get started. The very first thing I want you to note is that on your Launchpad, there is a demo class. The demo class is great for playing around with things. I know that I personally am a learn by doing person, so when I get to actually hop inside and play around with it, it's a bit easier for me to understand how to use it. I'm gonna zoom in, well, that's a little bit too much. Zoom in a bit more, there we go. So I'm going to ignore the demo class for now, and I am going to follow the little Mojo tips to get me started. So I'm going to press that blue button to start my class. So the first thing you want to do is create a class name. Your school might set naming suggestions because if I was like, first grade ladybugs or something, others might not know which class that is. If your especially if you're school-wide, it's really nice to know which class is which. So I prefer to say 4th grade Mrs. Warren. And then I will choose my grade level. This is by choosing your grade level, when you add students, it will change their grade level within their or within the directory. So when you see students who are listed as first grade, even though they're in third grade, it might be because they just haven't been added to a class that has the grade attached to it. So again, choose your grade level and then decide, do you want to share points? Feedback awards are a great way to share positive feedback with students. And you might want to use that in the classroom, but maybe not share with families. So you have some options here. You can share only the positive points. You can share all points, or don't share points with parents. So maybe you're like, I only want this to be used in the classroom. I don't want parents to think that they need to take action at home, whatever reasoning you might have. So you can choose that here. I'm going to say share all points, and then I'm going to create my class. Great. Okay, so we're within ClassDojo now, and we're in my class. And again, following those Mojo tips, the first thing we're going to do is add students. So if you haven't done this yet, this might be a great time to open up your ClassDojo and follow along with me. So let's follow the Mojo tips. The first thing we want to do is add our students. So I'm going to click that blue plus sign. Now, when I start typing names, you'll see that I can press this blue button to add them. If I was verified for my school, however, I would be able to access the students that are already saved in my school. So if your school is using ClassDojo, I would actually recommend waiting to add students until you are verified for your school. Your school leader can verify you. Your school's mentor can verify you. If you have an email address that matches the domain for your district, it should auto-verify you. But I am not yet verified for this school, so any students I add will not be added to the directory. So as I do this work of adding students and adding parent connections, they will not be added to the directory, and I will need to push them in later once I'm verified for my school. But let's just focus on adding our students for now, because you might be like me and you might not be verified yet. And if you are verified, you'll notice student names will pop up. Click those names. So I'm going to add some students. Let's do Alfred Snow. I'm going to be really bad at making up names. Press the blue button. Now we have Alfred, and let's do Ben Boxby. Oh, this I should have made a list of names before this. Caitlin Ward. Sure. Okay, so as you add names, you'll notice that you press the blue plus sign, and that adds them to your class. If you type a name and try to add it and it does not have a last name, it's not going to let you add it. You need to have a first name and a last name. Now, let's say you're in a school where you don't want to store last names for privacy reasons. You could always do Joe 1. But I would recommend doing first name, last name, or at least Joe, how about G-O-J? And then you at least have the first name and the last initial. Okay, so I've added some students to my list. There's another way I could add students, because that might take a little bit of time to type in each student's name. If your school sent you your class list and you have it in your email, or you have some kind of way to copy and paste it, you click this blue link down at the bottom and you can add your list that way. So if I have it in a doc, I can copy and paste it, or I can import it from Word or Excel. You copy and paste from Word to here, from Excel to here. And once you've done that, then you'll see this import list will turn blue, and then that will add those students to your class. Okay, now that I've added them here, I need to press save. Save will make them show up in my class. Now I have a line of students here. Definitely not the number of students you probably have. You probably have 3 times as much, but you will then have them here. And let's say you continue to add students throughout the year. I can always go back and press that add students button again and continue to type names or copy and paste from my list. Now, if you were later verified for your school, you can always add your students from the list that way as well. Okay, so we've added students. My next Mojo tip is telling me to connect parents. So let's click the blue Invite Parents button at the top. Now, when I do this, I have a couple different ways that I can connect families. I can download these printouts. I can enter an email address or phone number. The phone number only works if you're in the US. If I was verified for my school, oops, there would be a third way to add parents to my class to connect. When you're verified for your school, there will be another button here that says Class Link. And with the class link, you share that link with families. They type in their student's name. So let's say Alfred Snow here. His dad, Albert Snow, will use the link that I send, type in Alfred Snow, and on my side, I will see Albert wants to connect to Alfred. Is that a correct connection? And I can say yes, and they will be connected. So for now, I can't use that because I'm not verified for a school. So again, another reason that it's great to actually get verified for your school. Okay, so I can choose a language. I can download those printouts. Right now, all of mine are unconnected, but you can also choose, let's say you have some parents who are already connected. Maybe the students were in the directory. You can just print those printouts for the unconnected parents. So you're not doing a ton of printing of invites. Okay. I'm not going to invite fake parents right now, so I'm going to move on to the next part. Once you have connected parents, you can message those parents. So again, following the Mojo tips, let's head on over to the Messages tab. This is going to be a little bit my way as I'm talking about this, but when you are using messaging, you can message all parents, or you can message individual parents. Right now, I can't do any of that because none of them are connected, but a couple things to keep in mind. First thing is quiet hours. You can set quiet hours so that you don't get notifications for messages super early in the morning or really late at night. Definitely something I recommend to help you have the work-life balance, especially if you're teaching remotely. So definitely check that out. I would just go to my account settings. I'm going to go to account settings, messaging, and I'm going to turn on quiet hours. So I think, I don't really want to get messages about school after 7 p.m. maybe that's when I'm deciding like that's my cutoff time. And then I can start getting them. 6 a.m. is fine. I can get those notifications again. You can also mute it for weekends. So if I don't want to receive any push notifications Saturday and Sunday, I can turn that on. And then the last thing here will be important further down the line. Once you start actually messaging with families and using that as your main method of communication, you might have your principal ask you for, proof of communication for your evaluation, or maybe you want to download your message history, just keep track of a relationship with families that you want to document. There's this nice little button where you can download your message history. Okay, that's messaging for now. Let's hop over to portfolios. That's the next thing it wants me to check out. So I'm going to click portfolios, and this is how you get started. There's a video here to kind of introduce you to it.
Congrats.
It's me, so.
But first, what is Portfolios? Portfolios is the instant digital way for students to share their learning with you, the teacher, and families at home. That means no more important student evidence lost in the backpack, and families are consistently in the know all year long, rather than having to be updated at back to school night. You get to approve each post before it goes out to families, and only their family can see their posts. Give students choice by allowing them to log into their accounts and post to their portfolio. Or if you want a little more structure, you can assign an activity. Just click the button right about here. It says create an activity. Then you can have.
So, but if you have a new account, you'll see that that's there to kind of guide you through it. If I wasn't here, you would have a pre-recorded version of me leading you through it. But let's give it a go. Okay, so we're in portfolios. Right now we're looking at all posts. And if I go down, as you scroll down, you can see create an activity. And then all my students are listed here. When I click on a student, I can see anything that they've posted. Now, what's really important is this button here. It says student login. You want your students to be connected so they can actually use their portfolio. If you were here yesterday, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but here we go. There is a classroom login and there's an at-home login. Classroom login is intended for in your classroom. Like for me, for example, we had one shared iPad and I would put it on the back table and students would go to that table and share on their portfolio, but there's 32 students and we're doing the rotations and I don't have a lot of time. You're probably very familiar with that scenario. So classroom login allows them to log in and toggle to their account and toggle to another student's account as they hand off the device. So when I click that, I can choose, do I want to allow my students to use a QR code, a text code, or sign in with Google? This is totally up to you. If you had an iPad, I would definitely recommend using a QR code because it's easy to scan. If you have one-to-one devices or you're using something like Chromebooks, I would use a text code. And then if you have Google logins, use Google logins. That's probably going to be your simplest way to use that. And if you're a little unsure of what this means and you want to take more time to explore it more, as you click on each of these, you'll see that there's FAQs down here that will guide you through what it means to use a QR code versus a text code. So I'm going to use QR code for now. I'm going to click confirm QR code and I can now print this QR poster, which I can print in quite a few languages as well. Or I can download the individual ones. It's prompting me to do this because, like I said, you can do the in-class login, classroom login, or I can use the at-home login. Now, let's say I set it for QR code, but I decided I no longer want to use QR code. I'd rather use the text code. I can click change sign-in method, click this text code, maybe that's what I want to use, and confirm that. And now each time I go to classroom login, it's going to pull that up. So you can always change it here at the top where it says change sign-in method. Now, what's important to know is that things like this text code changes every 48 hours. The reason for that is, you probably don't want to have the same code out over the weekend. Maybe students might remember it and log in and decide to toggle, whatever reason it might be. We just want to keep your account secure, and we can do that by just changing out that code. Okay, so that was the classroom login. At-home login. I really would recommend just doing this because it's so simple. Right now, I don't have any parents connected, but if I did, there would be a little blue button that I could just click send message and it would send every parent their student's login. Right now, I don't have any parents connected, so I don't have the ability to send that. So I am going to, that's one way. I would click get printouts. When you click get printouts, give this a moment to download, you will get a document like this that you can print that has each student's QR login. Now this is nice. You can always put this like inside a student's planner. Maybe you put it on their desks. If you set with students, we only use our own QR codes. So they always have that. You can send one home so they can easily access it at home. But like I said, when you do have parents connected, you can just send them a message and it sends them each their login. And that looks like this. When I click share, it's giving me this message that I can copy paste. This is technically what is sent when you send a parent a message. So I can copy this, maybe I'm sending it via email, but it includes this link. This link looks like this when opened by parents. So whether you send it via messaging or you copy and paste that and send another way, this is what a parent will see on their side. So from the parents' account, they'll see that, okay, I can switch to my child's account by tapping the profile bubble in the top left and toggling to my student, or I can use this QR code, or I can use this website link. So just by clicking that, they can get logged into their student's account. So really simple once you get that information out to families. I know some people are worried about just giving out logins to families and like, will they be able to figure it out? Don't worry, we guide them through getting connected. And then we always link to the help desk for more information to help guide them through things so they don't get stuck. Okay. Portfolios. Okay, so we did how students log in. We're now looking at portfolios. I told you can, right now we're looking at all posts. We can look at an individual student's post by clicking on that student. And then we can also create activities. So again, if you're in one of my previous webinars, this might be a little bit repetitive, but I want to go through all the basics. Again, if you have your account open, I would definitely recommend you playing around with this as I talk about it, because again, I think learn by doing is just the best way to go about it. So if I click the blue Create Activity button, this opens up an activity. Now, an activity is when I want to assign something very specific for students to respond to. So I might, oops. So let's pretend every week I want students to do a check-in. I like to put the day of school it is to just kind of keep track of what day it is. I mean, you could also put the date, like let's just do, what is the date? 7th, 8/7/20. And then I would include instructions for my students. Please share. Okay, so I'm going to include detailed instructions. I like to include emojis because I feel like it gives them visual cues. So if you are on a Mac, the way to add emojis is Control, Command, Spacebar. Control, Command, Spacebar brings up that emoji board. You can Google how to do it on a PC. I know that there's a similar shortcut. But by doing that, then I can include visual cues for my students. And so we include a title, instructions, and then I want to choose how do I want my students to respond. I'm asking them to write about their highs and lows of the week. So I'm going to ask for a text response. This very well could be a video response if I want students to video themselves. It could be a photo if it was something like I wanted them to create a visual of it or a drawing. So an activity requires a very specific response. So I'm going to go with text. Now, even better, you can assign this to the entire class, or you can choose to assign it to an individual student or a group of students. So if this was an activity that was more, oh, whoops, there we go. If this is an activity based around maybe like reading groups, and you had a specific activity for each reading group, then you could create those activities and choose which students to assign it to. Now, I want to assign this to the whole class, so I'm going to keep it as is. Worksheets are in your accounts. So let's say instead I want to upload a worksheet. I'll just click Worksheet. I will click Upload an Attachment, and I can drag over. Do I have anything I can use on my desktop? I guess not. Oh, there we go. I can drag over any PNG, JPEG, or PDF and use that as a worksheet. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to make text boxes or do any work. I just drag it in, upload one file, and that will be uploaded as an activity. So I can assign that to the class. Great. Once you assign an activity, you can always go back to edit it by clicking this settings wheel here. Edit, archive, delete. Archive will just get it out of this space on the left here. So as you start to use portfolios more and more, you'll notice that that space fills up. So archiving activities helps you just kind of keep things clean. If it's an activity you no longer want to use, you'll want to delete it. Otherwise, this is what it looks like. I can click on the approved, and that shows me who I've submitted it to. This was a whole class activity, so it's showing me every student. But as students turn things in, you'll see these numbers change, so you can keep track of which students are submitting their work and which ones still need to work on it. Or if there's pending items, like a student has submitted it. Once a student submits a portfolio item, whether it's an item they just submit on their own, or if it's a response to activity, you have to approve it. So when students submit it to you, it'll show up on your side. And once you approve the post, then their parents can see it as well. So we definitely want you to be able to take a look at it. And if, you know, Alfred is submitting something that is, you know, really off and you're like, hey buddy, I don't think you read the instructions, you're able to tell them that so that they can resubmit. So let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so we just submitted that activity to students, and this is what it looks like on Alfred's side. So I can click start, and as Alfred works on this, maybe we just want to, let's just throw a single sticker in there because we're going to show that Alfred is not doing the right thing. So Alfred's going to submit this. And let's head back over to our teacher account. And now you can see that there is one pending approval. You can see the one there. It's showing up here with the little yellow bell icon. I could approve all, but most likely you're going to look at each item once it's submitted to you. I can already see that Alfred did not follow instructions, but let's click on it and take a look. When you click on a student's portfolio post, you can view their work, you can approve it, you can return it as draft, and you can also leave a comment. So I might say, let's please finish this activity, follow the directions, even though my directions don't match this activity. Okay, so I'm going to share that feedback and I'm going to return it as a draft. Now that means that this item will be under draft here, and that student will have that work come back to them as a draft. You can see that purple draft note, and then they can continue working on it. Let's talk about feedback. I just skipped right on past that, didn't I? Okay. So you have your class. We've gone through our different tabs at the top. Oh, except for ClassDojo. I haven't even touched that one. We did messages, we did portfolios. Let's talk about the classroom. I can go to options, edit class, and you can see that I have a couple different things I can edit. I can edit the information. So if I want to change the name and I notice other classes are doing different naming, I can always change it there. I can also change the icon. Maybe I'm the art teacher. We can go to students. We've already talked about how to get those connected. Parents, we talked about how to get parents connected. Let's talk about skills. So feedback skills are totally customizable. You get to choose what you want to award. So if you want to give positive feedback, needs work feedback, which also includes neutral feedback. Let's go to positive feedback. I really like to focus on the positive myself because really it's that positive feedback that helps students, you know, see the good that they're doing and continue striving for great things. This import from can be very helpful later. If you're brand new to ClassDojo, you probably don't have another class that you can import skills from. However, maybe I'm new to ClassDojo and the other fourth grade teacher isn't. She's been using it and she has a great set of skills. She might want to share her class with me and then I can import the skills to match her skills. But let's go ahead and just edit ours for now. I actually like helping others. Let's keep that. Participating. Let's edit participating. I think I want to change participating to Zoom lesson participation. So I want to just change it slightly to be more remote focused. And I can also include, or I can also up how many points I would like it to be, up to 5 points. I'm going to keep it as 1, save that. For me, maybe I'm going back to an in-person classroom, and I really want to encourage my students to cover their mouth when they sneeze. Maybe? No. Let's do, I want them to wash their hands. So, washed hands. So maybe like after lunch, I really want students to get in the habit of washing their hands. So I can add that as a feedback skill. And now I have a kind of COVID-friendly feedback icon that I can award. Now, I'm sharing all points with families. That means I'm sharing the positive and the needs work. One thing that I think is incredibly important is that it's positive and it needs work. It's never negative. Our goal as teachers is never to put students down or to make them feel bad or to think that something is negative about themselves. The whole goal of needs work, if you choose to use it, is to probably help students recognize something, stop, reflect, goal set, and then make progress. So what we find is that really many of us aren't really using needs work points anymore, but you might need them to keep track of some things, and we want to give you the flexibility to make that choice. That's why we haven't taken it away. However, I like to use, and again, if you're in one of my previous webinars, you're going to be like, broken record. And Antarctica. Did I spell it right? Antarctica. Perfect. This closed captioning is really helping me with my spelling today. I like to create one called Antarctica, and I put the point weight as 0. So let's save that. The reason I have one called Antarctica, I set up with my students that if they feel they're suddenly feeling overwhelmed, if they recognize they need to take a break, I want them to be able to recognize that in themselves, to let me know, and then to be able to take action on it. I don't want my students to feel like they have to hide their feelings or, you know, try to bottle it up and then that causes them to explode. I want them to know they can tell me and they can take a break. So in my classroom, I had a little area set up with like fidget spinners and other things that would help us cool down. And students knew they could come to me and say like, hey, I need to go chill out. And I'd be like, cool, go to Antarctica. See you in a little bit. And it was just a little space in my classroom. Anyways, so let's say Caitlin comes to me and she's like, I need a break. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I want to go to Antarctica. And I'm like, cool, go chill out. I can give that feedback. It doesn't have any name on it or anything. And I also wouldn't display this in my classroom, I don't think. It's, again, totally up to you. We want to create something flexible that you can use however you would like to. But then I can add a note. So I found this really helpful with students who had this happen quite frequently. Because when I added the note, first of all, I could let their parent know what was going on. So they had some context about it. But also, as time goes on, I can go to options, view reports. I can go to their reports, and I can keep track of when this feedback is happening. So if I'm starting to see patterns that every day at 2:40, Caitlin needs to go to Antarctica, that really signals to me something's going on and I need to check in with her. And what can I do to help her not get to this point where she feels so overwhelmed. So I like using feedback in that way just to help keep track of what's going on so I can better serve my students. So options, edit class, skills, that's where you can edit your feedback. And if you decide, you know, right now you want all points, maybe you decide I only want parents to see positive points, or maybe I don't want them to see feedback at all. You can always change that there as well. Okay, other great things in this options edit class, you can go to teachers. Now this is incredibly helpful. When you're a part of a school, you'll see all the other teachers listed here. Again, my account isn't yet verified, so they're not listed. But I would enter a teacher's email and invite them to be a co-teacher in my class. Teachers who could be co-teachers, your principal, the librarian, your PE coach, the lunch staff, the front desk, your secretaries, the front desk people, the nurse. I feel I could keep going. Your other fourth grade teacher, your tech coach, the speech language pathologist, the school counselor. All these people you could add as co-teachers. And what's so great about having co-teachers? Well, co-teachers get to access your class like they're the teacher as well. So let's say I have a student with an IEP or a 504 plan, and they go see Mrs. King for math supports. And that if I share my class with Mrs. King, then she can give feedback in my class. She can send this child's parents messages. She can assign an activity just to that student in my class. When you add a co-teacher, you get to work together. So that's a great little tip or trick to try out. I always shared mine with our PE coach, librarian, and my co-teacher, my other fourth grade teacher. Especially nice if you have to run to the restroom in the middle of the day and you have to have someone cover your class and they have access to your class in ClassDojo, then you know that even if you have to run away for a couple minutes, that they can always keep track of things too. And your students know that too. Okay, great. So outside of this Teachers tab, you can go to Settings, and this is where we're going to hop over to Class Story in just a second here. When you're on Class Story, you can enable comments. This would allow families and students, well, families, let's just go with parents for now. Turning on comments allows parents and co-teachers to comment on Class Story and on Portfolio. So it also allows them to, like a co-teacher, to delete comments as needed. So if something needed to be deleted, I don't know. So you can always turn that on or off. I'm going to leave it on. And then you can also turn on commenting for students. We're going to talk about Class Story in a second here, but this is a great way to engage students as you post things to Class Story. You want them to be able to engage with it. So let's go take a look at Class Story. Okay, so Class Story is basically your classroom, but accessible to everyone in your class, your students and your parents. Now, you can share photos. So great examples of sharing photos. When I went to the Monterey Bay Aquarium with my students, and not every parent could come on the field trip, I was able to post photos so all the families could feel a part of that field trip. I could also post videos. So I could post a video of the students on the bus. That's something that parents probably don't usually get to see and would be really kind of special to get to be a part of. I can share files. So if I have a packet of materials that I want students to work on when we're going remote, maybe it's just a back to school night packet, whatever it might be, I can share any file on Class Story. I can record myself on here. So if I want to do a read aloud, or if I want to record myself teaching a lesson, I can put that on Class Story. All of this is accessible by both students and parents. So when I post, not only can my parents see that, get that information, but I can use this as a space to teach my students. I can share lessons and links and make sure that even if we suddenly have to go remote, we're used to this norm of me using Class Story, and they know that they can access our curriculum there. You can also add events. Events are a great way for you to share something like back to school night. Let's say you've back to school night on this date, whether it's in person and you're just letting them know about it, or maybe you're doing a Zoom or Google Hangouts or whatever your video conference tool is. Maybe you're doing your back to school night digitally. You can share that as an event on Class Story. You can leave that way, and then you can decide what reminders you want. So when I create this, every family in my class will get a reminder 5 days before, 1 day before, and 1 hour before. Or I can just do immediately, or not at all. Okay, create, and now I have an event on my Class Story. I will see it up here pinned on the top right. as will families. When they log in, events are pinned to the top. Now, instead of me showing you this very empty account, which yours might be empty as well, I would like to give you a peek inside my teacher test account so you can see the kind of things that I've been sharing, or what I would share if I were in the classroom. So this is my account that is verified for the school. So as things are posted to School Story, which is just like Class Story we just talked about, but every family in the school can view School Story. So here's School Story. So as things are posted, there's a back to school night. That means every single parent at the school will see this event. They'll get the notifications and be able to get that information. And one of the great things about Class and School Story, you can see who's viewed it and if any parents have translated it into their preferred language. So here's an example of my class. I can go to Class Story, and you can see that I've been playing around with creating some events, sharing some photos, adding a choice board, sharing a video lesson, sharing a PDF, a comprehension worksheet for whatever it is, and all kinds of things on my Class Story that not only students can see, but families can see. And so we can continue to have a classroom, whether we're in person or we suddenly do have to go remote. Okay, going over the basics takes a long time, and I'm trying to go very slow, but there's a lot. Two things I want you to explore on your own. This is your homework. Your homework is to check out Toolkit and check out the big ideas. If you're gonna pick one of the two, if you're only gonna listen to me for one thing, your homework is to check out the big ideas. So if you go to your class, here's my class, at the bottom, it says big ideas. You're going to click that, and I want you to explore this a little bit. These videos, activities, discussion guides, we partnered with Stanford, Harvard, and Yale to create them. And they're designed to help students understand concepts like growth mindset. And not only can you view them as a class in the classroom or on a Zoom call, but you can also share them on your Class Story so that students can watch it when they're at home. So you can see, if we go back to my Class Story, I had shared one here with the link, and then my students and families can watch that video at home. Okay. I know that there is a lot, a lot to learn. Again, these slides are here to guide you through this on your own, to kind of jog your memory of the things we talked about, and you will get this recording so that you can watch it again at your own pace, and hopefully it will help, guide you through all the different parts of ClassDojo. The best place to find this information is probably on Facebook, because you can find your answer like that. So again, if you're brand new, which you probably are if you're joining us, the Facebook community is a great place to ask questions, especially if you're new. There's so many teachers who are veteran teachers in using ClassDojo who can answer all your questions and share ideas and best practices. And there's some pretty cool people there, some pretty amazing people there who can guide you. You can also find more help by going to classdojo.com/help. or the help desk. There you'll find articles for you, for students, for families, for school leaders, that will guide you through pretty much how to do everything. When people write us emails, 90% of the time the answer is in the help desk. You can also find webinars like these and tutorials on our YouTube channel. So check that out, classdojo.com/YouTube will take you there. They'll take you right to our channel. And again, if you ever get stuck, if you're still not verified for some reason and you've tried to reach out to your mentor and all that fun stuff, you can always drop us an email. We want to be here to support you. It is just about, it's back to school season, so we get a few more emails than usual. So as we get into the peak back to school time, sometimes our responses get a little slower. I think we're doing pretty good right now, but I just want to put that in mind because writing to us is usually the last thing I'd recommend you do. I'd say help desk, YouTube, Facebook, and then drop us an email if we can help. I'm going to take a look at the Q&A. I can see that we answered a ton of questions. Oh, someone asked about attendance. Great question. That's one thing I didn't go over. Let's go back to our class. You can take attendance here along the bottom. Again, we talked about toolkit, we talked about big ideas, but there's other things here too. Attendance. I can mark everybody, right now that everybody's present, I can mark them all absent if I needed to. Let's mark them all present again. But I can also mark a student absent. When you click it a second time, it will mark them tardy. If you click it again, that is, oh, whoops. Yellow is tardy. The yellow and green is left early. So if you have a student who left early for a doctor's appointment or something, you could always mark that there in your attendance, which again is great information to have for yourself. Yeah. So you can invite teachers or staff to your school in the directory, which is really nice, especially if you're a school leader, getting everyone connected. You can actually invite people by copying and pasting. That's cool. I have never played with that before. Also, I wanted to mention, once you're verified for your school, you can also invite parents to connect to your school with a school link, not just the class link. In fact, I talked about that, inviting parents with the class link. That's what it looks like here. So I would click class invites, it would show the link. So that's showing because I'm verified for my school. So it's definitely important to get verified for your school. Cool, okay, let's see. Sorry. Ooh, someone had a great question. Doing a teacher story. So just like we posted a class story, I have seen teachers create a class for just the teachers at their school. So, oops. So I would create a new class. And I wouldn't even have to add students, but I would add all of our teachers from our school as co-teachers. And then I could post to this class story, and everything I post in this class story would be available for just the teachers at my school. So that's a little hacky way to do it. So creating a teacher class and adding all the teachers in your school as co-teachers. There you go. You'll see that I have more classes here than I need. I only need this fourth grade class is from last year. So I'm going to click this settings wheel and I am going to say finish class. There's two options when you finish a class. You can archive it, which means the class is removed from my main page and so it's no longer accessible, but all those students and their parent accounts, they stay in our school directory. That means next year's teacher, so if I taught fourth grade and now they're going to fifth grade teacher can pull all those students into their class from the directory. Let's say I teach sixth grade and after sixth grade, they go to seventh, they go to the middle school. They're leaving our school site. If I'm the sixth grade teacher and my students are done at my school, I will click graduate class and that will remove all of those students from my directory. So this is definitely not something I would play with unless you're absolutely certain you no longer want those students in your school. If you're unsure, it's always safe to archive your class because when you go into your school directory, you can go by classes or by students and you can always remove students from the school. It's messy, but if you accidentally archive a class, you can bring it back and then you can graduate it if you need to. So definitely I would talk to your school, like if your principal's in charge of your whole class dojo, making the rules, check in there. And I think that would be helpful. Again, thanks for dealing with my silliness and not so perfectness. And if no one's told you recently, you're amazing. Teachers showing up to webinars like these is pretty cool, knowing that you want to learn and that you care so much about your students and your school community. So thanks for being here and thanks for supporting your school community.